All right, so are you ready to roll some dice?
I always am.
Well, maybe not literally, unless you've got some ancient Mesopotamian ones lying around.
Right, right.
We are doing a deep dive today into Sumerian dice, inspired by ancient Sumer.
Hmm.
So all their myths and history are kind of woven into the story.
That's what's so fascinating to me. It's that cultural context.
Yeah.
Most D&D campaigns draw from European mythology or
Yeah.
history, but Sumerian Dice, it just taps into this whole other vein of storytelling that we just don't see a lot, especially in Western fantasy.
Right. This show follows a group of adventurers, and they're competing in this Fas Tournament.
Okay.
And it's not just about fighting monsters.
What else is it about?
Well, there are dance competitions,
Oh, wow.
horse races, and even magic trick contests.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's like this wild blend of action and intrigue. Not just brute force, we're talking strategy and a whole lot of magical flair. And to make sure we're not overwhelmed by all the awesomeness, we've broken our deep dive into 4 parts, one for each day.
Starting with day one is a good way to go. Helps us understand the tournament, see the key players, and how those early competitions shape things.
Exactly. So day 1 has 3 events: a dance contest, a horse race, and a magic tricks competition. Now, before you think, oh, it's just some prancing around, remember this is the Fas Tournament.
I find it really interesting, actually, that they start with a dance contest. Creativity and artistry, as important as physical power or magic.
Right. It's like they're saying, even in a world of magic, you got to have rhythm.
It lets competitors show off their personalities, loosen up a bit before things get really intense.
Totally. So picture this. You're in a grand hall at a magical university. The air is buzzing with anticipation. And setting the mood for this extraordinary dance-off is none other than Nam of Mubus.
Nam of Mabus. A name whispered in both academic circles and government halls. PhD at 14, and apparently has a top-secret government position. Adds a layer of intrigue, wouldn't you say?
Right. Like, what's her deal? Is she scouting talent?
Yeah.
Keeping an eye on things? Or just loves a good dance-off? Her music is absolutely captivating, though.
Music can really set the tone, affect your mood, the atmosphere. Nam isn't just entertainment. It's more like creating an experience for everyone.
Totally. Speaking of performers, let's talk about Aedeus. This guy was a circus performer. He brought all that energy and charisma to the dance floor. Gravity-defying leaps, dizzying spins, a smile that could charm anyone.
Aedeus embodies that joy and showmanship you often see in dance, pushing boundaries, expressing yourself, and captivating the audience.
Exactly. But then there was Hammam, an orc. You wouldn't typically picture orcs as graceful dancers, right? But Hammam defied all expectations.
Hammam challenges those stereotypes, doesn't he? Talent in artistry can really come from unexpected places.
Oh, absolutely. Breaking stereotypes and just enjoying himself. But the story that really got me was Rita's. Rita starts off strong, partnered with this adorable owl named Buha. Buha even gives him a magical costume.
It sounds like something out of a story, doesn't it?
Well, you know what they say about things that seem too good to be true. The costume was cursed.
Yeah.
Imagine the pressure. You're the star of the show, then suddenly you're battling your own clothes.
Quite a twist. Rita has to be resilient, doesn't he? And adaptable. Not only does he overcome the obstacle, he works it into his performance.
Seriously. He used the curse to his advantage, turned it into this hilarious routine. The audience loved it.
A great example of how creativity can come from tough spots. Finding humor in a difficult situation.
You said it. And you know what? Rita's quick thinking actually won him the whole competition. It wasn't just his dancing, but his ability to turn a disaster into a win.
Adaptability and resilience, key takeaways.
So true. And can we just take a moment to appreciate Hammam's final round? Danced with an empty chair. It was like he was saying, hey, I'm here to have fun, even if I'm going solo.
A bit of humor can go a long way.
Especially
in a competitive environment.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've had amazing music, incredible performances, a cursed costume, and a dancing orc. And that was just the first event. Are you ready to move on to the horse race?
Absolutely. That opening act has me excited for what's next. From a grand hall to a racetrack shrouded in mystery. What a change. Makes you wonder how this new setting changes the competition, doesn't it?
It's completely different. Imagine this. You're at the starting line, but instead of a clear view, you're surrounded by thick smoke.
Now that's unpredictable. Talk about raising the stakes.
Right. And it's not just smoke. We're talking magical mounts with all sorts of abilities, some flying, others disappearing in the shadows. I even saw some teleporting, I think.
It must take some serious skill and quick thinking to handle a race like that. Not to mention nerves of steel.
Oh, absolutely. And just when you think you've seen it all, there's a bit of, shall we say, Strategic interference.
The age-old question, do the ends justify the means? It makes you think about the ethics, right? Does winning, no matter what, ruin fair play?
It really does. But before we go too deep into philosophy, let's meet some of the racers. Remember Gat, the frog-like humanoid who was so patient at the dance contest? Well, that patience paid off in this race.
Patience and observation. You don't see those enough in competition. He knew that rushing in could be a disaster.
Right. He just waited for the smoke to clear, and then, boom, he was off like a shot, leaving everyone else behind.
Slow and steady wins the race. It's a classic for a reason.
Totally. But then there was Wazzle riding his Black Panther. He was zipping through the chaos like it was nothing.
Wassel had to be adaptable, right? Thinking on his feet the whole time.
Right, he moved like a shadow. But the one who really impressed me was Rafa Al-Waziz. This woman had style. She had these black duck wings. And get this, she used them to lift herself off her horse's back, gave her this incredible edge.
That's thinking outside the box, using her unique skills to her advantage.
Exactly. Who needs a flying horse when you have wings? But even with her wings, she was beaten in the end by Dalal. Remember that strategic interference I mentioned? Well, it seems Dalal had some help.
So the ethics question comes up again. Even with magic and fantasy, there's still a line between fair play and cheating.
And, even with the controversy, Dalal was thrilled, claimed it was all his skill. Rafa, though, she wasn't happy. I wonder if this is the start of a rivalry between them.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So are we ready to move on to the last event of day one, the magic tricks competition?
Oh, yeah. But this isn't your average magic show. Forget rabbits and hats. We're talking illusions that bend reality.
Yeah.
And a ringmaster who could probably charm anyone.
I'm all ears. Magic always has that element of wonder, And in a tournament, it raises the stakes even higher.
It was all hosted by this guy named Nob. He was the leader of something called the Spade Circus. He had this aura about him. Charisma mixed with a little bit of darkness.
Sounds like he embodies both sides of magic, the good and the bad.
Right, he was a showman, for sure. But there was something in his eyes that made you think he had more going on.
Right.
But let's talk about the competitors. We had Anglis, who specialized in dark arts and demonology. I don't know exactly what that means in this world, but it sounded intense.
Her magic plays on our fears of the unknown. Right. That darker side of things.
It was definitely a bit unsettling. Then there was Kara. She could control the elements. Storms in a bottle, fire like silk, even creatures made of water.
She seems to have a deep connection to nature.
It was amazing. But the one who really stole the show and almost caused a disaster was Sahara. This girl conjured a giant fireball and aimed it straight at the tent.
Now that's dangerous. It makes you think about the responsibility that comes with that kind of power, doesn't it?
If it had hit, the whole tournament would have been over. But luckily, our heroes from the horse race, Rada, Wazzle, and Goat, they jumped in and saved the day.
Looks like they were ready to be heroes no matter what. It makes you think maybe heroism isn't tied to any specific event, but just something that comes out when it's needed.
It really does. It was a close call, though. And it makes you wonder about the risks these competitors take. Is it worth it for the spectacle?
It's a fine line between entertainment and recklessness.
So we've had dancing, a crazy horse race, and a magic show that almost went up in flames. That's day one of the Fas Tournament. Any thoughts before we move on to day two?
It's been amazing seeing all these different talents. We've also seen how ethics come into play, the need to adapt, and those moments of heroism. It's been quite a day.
I couldn't agree more. What really strikes me is how these competitors are always pushing the limits. It's like they're saying, we're here to redefine what's possible. And that's what makes this tournament so captivating. It's not just about winning, it's about the journey. But day two is coming up, and things are going to get even wilder. We're going into a magical labyrinth, we've got team challenges, and we'll finally learn more about Naam Afmabas. Yeah. So buckle up, because this ride is far from over. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the Fas Tournament, what's the big takeaway? What can we learn from these heroes and their amazing journey?
I think the Fas Tournament teaches us that real strength comes from working together, being able to adapt, to bounce back from setbacks. It's about pushing yourself, believing in yourself, and helping each other achieve incredible things.
That's really powerful. And these lessons apply to everyone, right? Not just in some magical tournament. The challenges we face in our own lives, the times we succeed, it's all about the journey. Learning, growing, never giving up.
Exactly. The Fas Tournament is like a mirror to our own lives. It's got ups and downs, good times and bad times. But what matters most is that fighting spirit, the spirit that pushes us to be better, to overcome obstacles and become the best versions of ourselves.
So well said.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into those stories that spark your imagination.
And remember, even if you're facing something scary, even impossible, there's always a way to succeed. It just takes a little bit of magic and a whole lot of heart.